Part 3 The Portal of Death. Chapter 1 The First Passengers. The three friends tried their best to enjoy their last 2 months of school, which, for them, was impossible. The memories of 2 months earlier took a heavy toll on them. There were some good ones, like the fall of Mordor, but the death of the god, their friend Helen, was less good. But Dragonia was finally freed from the wrath of Mordor, but in Drake's new adventure, evil would come from different angles. "Drake, who is the President of America?" his geography teacher asked Mr. Boris. "Drake? Huh? What?" Drake said distractedly. "What is that?" Mr. Boris asked him. Boris took a few steps towards his desk and took the drawing Drake was working on. "Drake, get out of that fantasy world of yours. No one believes your fake adventures. Drawings of dragons? How low can you get?" "Sorry, Boris," Drake said. "Mr. Boris." "Sorry, Mr. Boris," Drake answered, annoyed. When geography class was over, Drake, Haru, and Julia went outside to spend their break there. "That stupid ass of a Mr. Boris," Drake said. "Drake, we can't do anything about no one believing us," Julia said. "It isn't very credible." Drake looked up into the blue sky. "I know. My mother says she believes me, but I have my doubts. She always reacts so weirdly when I talk about it. My father thinks, well, exactly like Mr. Boris. And then there's my sister, who just calls me a dull, daft, dumb doofus. God knows where she got that from. But then again, she's always called me that." "If anyone is daft, it's her," Haru said. Drake chuckled. "That's kind of true." After their break was over, it was time for PE. Drake, Haru, and Julia excelled greatly. They had better stamina, more strength, and were much faster than any of the other students. It was definitely suspicious. After PE, their school day ended. "What are we going to do for the rest of the day?" Haru asked. "No homework, though, I know that," Drake said. "We all knew homework wasn't your plan, Drake," Haru said. They were interrupted by a sudden scream. The heroic minds of Drake, Haru, and Julia led them to head for where the scream came from right away. "Go away! Get off my sister!" It was the twins, Sarah and Lara. They were being threatened by a creature, and not just some creature, one from Dragonia. It was one of the giant spiders, though a little smaller than most. Now that Julia had defeated her fear, she ran towards the spider and kicked it through the air. When the spider came back, Haru jumped on it and squashed it. The spider was killed with ease. "Drake, spiders can't get that big, right? That looked an awful lot like the ones from Dragonia," Julia pointed out. "I think it was, but how?" Drake replied. "Okay, what?" Sarah started stuttering. "What's that?" Lara continued. "Do you believe us now?" Haru asked while he kicked the dead spider in a bush. "That was from your little world?" Sarah asked. "That was indeed a giant spider from Dragonia," Drake started. "A creature from the land we constantly talked about." "I don't believe you. This was set up," Sarah said. "Probably a special effect," Lara said. The twins walked away, still shocked. They didn't allow themselves to admit that what they just encountered was real. "I can't believe it," Drake said angrily. "Our whole class is unbelievable." "Drake, that is not important right now," Julia said. "We have to go to Dragonia to find out how that creature got to our school." "Good idea. Let's go there." Drake's phone started ringing. He reached for it in his pocket and answered it. "Hello?" he started. "Drake, have you heard?" It was his mother, Ariana. "What should I have heard?" "It's everywhere on TV. Everywhere on Earth, unearthly creatures are appearing, and like you described, among some, trolls, giants, and fiery giant spiders." "Oh dear. Well, we just saw one of the spiders. Are you okay?" "Mom, we've had worse. Anyway, we have to go to Dragonia now to find out what all this means." "All right, but be careful." "Always. But Mom, do you believe me now?" "I always have, honey. Good luck." Drake ended the call. "Let's go." "Drake," Haru said as Drake started walking away. "Yeah?" "The portal. Oh, of course. Forgot it disappears once we enter." Drake summoned the portal. They stepped through it and entered Dragonia. The portal closed behind them. They appeared at the foot of the palace. "No waterfall this time?" Haru asked. "I kept in mind what Julia said previous time, and luckily it worked." "Does that mean you can enter Dragonia wherever you want?" Haru asked. "Perhaps. Maybe even further than Dragonia. But I'm assuming I will have to have been there at least once, as in I have to be familiar with the place." The door opened from inside. "And how are we supposed to do that?" Chop came walking outside. "Chop," Drake said. "Well, like that," Calypso said, who followed. What was that about? Julia asked. Perfect timing, Chop said. Let's go inside, we'll explain. They entered the palace and gathered at a big table. The other dwarves were already seated. The monsters have left Dragonia and have started to head north. We are afraid they might attack other lands. You said monsters, what about the other creatures? Drake asked. For some reason, just the dangerous ones. Well, we have news, Haru started. I'm not so sure if it's your lands that they're after. Today we encountered one of them right next to our school, and we heard there were sightings of other monsters all over the planet. Impossible, Calypso said, shocked. Exactly, Drake said. Until now we only saw a baby giant spider, but my mother called me up saying the world was being threatened. The monsters that I spotted are exactly like the ones from Dragonia. We think that they somehow found a way to our world. Where did you first find a way to Dragonia again, Drake? Calypso asked. Scotland, but that's kilometers away. Not to mention there's a sea in between. To travel a distance like that for a mere spider is impossible. All over the world monsters are appearing. Oh dear Haven, Calypso said. Why don't you follow the monsters? Haru proposed. Who knows, there might be more ways to Dragonia like the one in Scotland. That is very clever, Calypso pointed out. Alright, I will venture north, see where they're going. In the meantime, Drake, you will have to notify your world of the danger. It's not that easy, Drake replied. No one is willing to believe us. I will send one of the centaurs with you in case they still don't. Perhaps that should help. And Chop, you and the others will aid them. Who knows what dangers lie ahead. Alright, tomorrow is another school day. If we can notify an entire school, maybe the rest follows, Julia said. Calypso, is there a chance that I have something to do with this? With the fact that I can summon portals? Drake asked worriedly. No, don't think that this is your fault. Your portal is a gift from Haven, though I do think that the cause of all this might have something to do with portals. Maybe you're not the only one who can summon them. Ready to go? Chop asked. Yeah, Drake replied. While Calypso prepared to find out more about the source of the recent events, the dwarves and one of the centaurs joined Drake, Haru, and Julia, and they headed for the real world. So this is your world, Lauren said. I don't like it. They ended up right in front of Drake's house. He could choose where to end up in the real world as well. They took a few steps towards the door and rang the bell. Drake, Ariana yelled when she opened the door. Hey, we have visitors, Drake told her. Visitors? Oh, Haru, Julia, and 1, 2, 4 little men. Lovely. Oh, and the centaur. Great. Ariana let everyone in and the centaur barely fit through the doorway. He entered last, after which Ariana and he looked each other in the eyes, somehow with a surprised look. She raised her hand and made a silencing gesture. The centaur looked away. No one saw what happened, and no one would have known what it meant if they did. While everyone discussed the plans, they decided to find out more. They put on the TV, and of course it was all over the news. To their relief, there weren't too many monsters sighted yet, and the police and military were capable of taking them down. For something as unearthly as that, they knew nothing better than to deploy the army. Nothing was shown, let alone known about the cause. It had been a difficult day for everyone. Drake and Haru put down a few mattresses and sleeping bags for the dwarves. The centaur found his own warm and comfy spot on the carpet in the hallway. Haru and Julia went to their nearby homes and everyone went to sleep. It was uneasy for everyone to fall asleep. The next day, Dora woke up the whole neighborhood by screaming loudly the moment she saw what was sleeping in the hallway. When everyone woke up because of her, they went to school. To protect the centaur against any hate from the citizens, because they would think he'd be one of the dangerous monsters, his upper body was covered up with a blanket. He was definitely not a fan of that plan. I'm sorry, but it's for your own safety, Drake said. I feel unaccepted, the centaur said as they walked to school. I am just like any of you. We do not deserve a cover. We are harmless creatures unless aggravated, who will always fight for a good cause. These people might, well, make you aggravated, Drake said. We all see you as you do, but they won't. When they made it to the school, they headed to the classroom. Their first lesson that day was physics. They were taught by Don Luke. Drake and the others were purposely late, and after class had already started, they entered the classroom and Drake interrupted the lesson. Everyone turned to him. Haru and Julia were already present and seated at their desks. Sorry, Mr. Luke, Drake said. Call me Don, the teacher said in contradiction to Mr. Boris. You are late. I know, sorry. So, I know no one ever believes what Haru, Julia, and I did a few months ago, but today I can prove, scientifically, in fact, that we were right all along. As long as it's science-related, go ahead, Don said. Alright, maybe not in a scientific way. That was just to get your permission and attention, but I can prove it. Guys, come on in. Nothing happened. Drake was left ashamed. Guys? Only then the dwarves and the centaur entered. Sorry, Drake, Chop said as he entered. This kid called me a midget. It's extremely offensive. Would you take that? And Romus, the centaur here, he called him Mr. Horse-ass. Your people really need to learn some manners. My apologies. Alright, everyone, these are Chop, Doozle, Lawrence, and Lenny. They're dwarves. And this is Romus, a centaur. Drake said proudly, yet a bit scared that they still wouldn't believe him. Well, this is definitely not scientifically explainable, Don said. Didn't I tell you? Because this is just a really bad disguise. What? Whatever they're showing on TV these days is all fake. Come on, Drake. Send your weird friends back to where they came from. The circus, I'm assuming. So I can finish my lesson. Fine, but I'm going with them. You have to? Why? Because they have no idea where they need to go. Fine, whatever. Your choice. Easy to put a student on absent. Drake walked out of the classroom, followed by the dwarves and the centaur. Haru and Julia stayed seated. After all, they knew the essence of this lesson. Alright, here are the tests, and keep in mind, this test is very important if you want to make the grade. Good luck. Drake wasn't anywhere to be found for the rest of the day. After school, Haru and Julia were searching for him. Eventually, they found him in the janitor's office. Drake, Julia started. Hey, is school over yet? Drake asked. Yes, but... Drake rose out of the janitor's chair and walked outside. Drake, I understand that you're angry, but we cannot change what they believe. The world is on fire. They have seen what awaits them, and they do nothing. It's not about them believing us, it's about preparing for what is ahead. I know, but what can we do about it? By the way, what were you doing here? Oh, I don't know if you caught what happened, but I felt like that was quite the embarrassment. Well, yeah, it was, thanks. But who cares? Forget about it. We have to do something. If they won't believe what we tell them, or what is shown on TV, or even when a monster attacks them right here and now, it's their problem. I can't help but feel responsible for what is happening, knowing we are the only ones who have a connection with this world and Rosium, where the monsters are coming from. Say, where are the dwarves and Romus? Haru asked. I sent them back. Hey, what are we going to do? Julia asked. We go. We fight. Wherever we can. After 2 frustrating days, it was time to go home. After being unable to warn everyone, they made the decision to help fight the monsters. In contradiction to the second war with Mordor, they felt more responsible for this one. They didn't yet know if their feelings were misplaced or not. Their failed attempts didn't lead to much. Now, all that could get people to prepare themselves was when someone could warn the world all together and say, the world is in danger.